My name is Julia King, and I am the Rare Books Librarian at Lambeth Palace Library. So I am the curator for her book, which means that in addition to providing the lead on choosing and interpreting material that's in the exhibition, I've also kind of been the project manager, which involves working with lots of different teams across the library to make the exhibition happen. It's like picking children. One of my favorite items from the exhibition is a manuscript that was written at Sion Abbey, which was a house of Birgitines, which is now Sion House near Richmond. And they were very famous for having exceptionally large and well-stocked libraries. And the book that I've selected, which is a little book of private prayers, was actually written by a woman. She was the scribe. And it's one of the only books that we have that we know was not only written by a woman, but signed by her as well. So this is Sister Elizabeth Woodford. And she signs her name, you can see in the corner here, Sister E.W. But she also writes a little prayer to the next reader, which says, gentle reader, I you pray, remember the scribbler if you may. And it's a nice message to the next reader, showing the continuity of women's community and reading at the Abbey. I have been doing research on women and their books for a really long time, and I think my favorite part of this exhibition is being able to share what I like about this subject with my colleagues who are also working on the exhibition and learning new things about it along the way. Oh, I've learned a lot about doing an exhibition. I've learned a lot about the different moving pieces that go into making something like this a reality. It's not just picking items and putting them in a case. You work with teams across the library. So we work very closely with collections care to make sure that items are out safely and that they get the light exposure that's good for them and that they're displayed to their best advantage. You work a lot with the operations team to make sure that there is a series of events and social media like this. And you also work with colleagues across the library doing things like graphic design and editing captions and other material. It's really a whole library endeavor. There are so many of my favorite women in this exhibition. It's really hard to pick one. But I think one who has stuck with me since we found her in the archival collections is this woman named Elizabeth Ogborne, who wrote in the early 19th century a natural history of the county of Essex. And she was a very early reader at Lambeth Palace Library. So after the death of her son, which was unexpected and he was quite young, she and her husband decided that they would work on a project together. And we have a letter written to the librarian asking if she can come and do research here at the library. And so I think it's a really nice way of showing both the continuity of readership here at the library and also how people doing relatively ordinary or non-specialized research were still doing work at Lambeth Palace Library even 200 years ago. I think there's still a general sense that unless people were very wealthy or unless people had exceptional privilege, women didn't really interact with books very much. I still do have a lot of people asking me if women could even read during this time period. And that's just simply not true. Women were literate, women had books, women owned books, they read them, they gave them as gifts, they wrote them, they commissioned them. And if you come to the library, you can see examples of all of those in this exhibition. I really hope that people take away the sense of how present women were in the intellectual cultures of early modern England. They wrote about a variety of subjects. There was literature, but there was also theology, there was autobiography, there was history. I think it's also really important that people take away that women didn't just write books, but they made them. They printed them, they commissioned them, they wrote them by hand themselves. And I think it's just as we know today that women are present in every aspect of intellectual culture, they were then too.